Our fearless leader is missing.
Fearless leader.
He better not be.
Uh,
Maybe he's
I
a
have every-
fearful leader.
I see a fearful leader. Can't blame him. Yeah, I can't blame him. So I have a question before we start. When I move the cameras over here, can you all see that on the share screen?
You what?
No? You
We
still
we see 2 pages of agenda and we see selection on the left. So, you know,
Wow. Okay.
now we
And
see the Concom meeting announcement.
Okay.
And I-
It just only shows that now. I know it does not show any of the other dashboard. I have
It shows a bunch
I have
of
an
stuff
entire
on the left.
control center that you cannot see. That's
Okay.
good to know.
Okay, okay.
All
Is
right.
that good?
It is good. It is.
Okay.
We're looking for Mr. Gullah. Hold on. Maggie, I see you. If you want to, here. What's going on?
Hi.
How are you?
I wanted to make sure that I'm able to speak should I need to. So
Sure.
because I didn't receive the panelist link, I just,
Oh, I'm going to promote you.
and there I am. Thank you.
There you go. Welcome. All righty. Flavio, I see you too. I'm going to throw you up on panel. Great. Okay. So I'm looking for Mr. Gullah. And he's not here yet.
I'll start if we need to.
We'll give him one more minute. It's 6:04, so we'll give him one more minute. Seventeen. Not yet. Oh, there he is. Hello, Rob. He's connecting.
Good.
Are you ready, Rob? No, we can't.
There we go.
There you go.
All right, now we're good to go. Everybody
Okay.
ready?
Gang's all here.
Okay, so it's a meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. The date is June 2nd, 2021. Do you want to do our lovely little, I don't know, how much longer are we gonna have to do this governor's orders? We still,
As long as it takes.
okay, do you want to read those off again?
Okay, sure. So welcome everyone to the June 2nd, 2021 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission, consistent with the governor's orders suspending certain provisions of the open meeting law and banning gatherings of now more than 200 people, I believe. This meeting will be conducted by remote participation to the greatest extent possible. The public may not physically attend this meeting, but every effort will be made to allow the public to view and listen to the meeting in real time. Persons who wish to do so are invited to view the meeting at the link provided on the City of Gloucester website remote meetings page. In the event that a live transmission proves unworkable for any reason, an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of the meeting will be made available on the city's website as soon as possible. Before we begin, I would like to make a note for everybody. Any permit products that are approved tonight will be issued on June 17th. And the next two upcoming meetings are Wednesday, June 16th, which is 2 weeks from today. And then the commission does not meet in the first week of July for the 4th of July week. So the next meeting after that will be July 21. And it will be a big break. In that time, I will be on a 2-week vacation. So the office is going to come to a screeching halt for a couple of weeks. Let me do a roll call for commissioners. Commissioner Charpentier.
Here.
Commissioner Cook.
Here.
Commissioner Gradwall.
Here.
Commissioner Sargent.
Here.
Co-chairwoman Jackson.
Here.
And co-chair Mangala.
Here.
Thank you. And finally, before we begin, I had a couple of late continuances. The project notice of intent 0282276 11 Webster Street, the city of Gloucester. Richard Kirby at LEC Environmental representing has requested to continue to June 16th. And the notice of intent 0282275 14 Fort Hill Avenue, Tiernan, trustee Libby Wallace at Hayes Engineering representing the request to withdraw without prejudice. Otherwise, we are firm to the agenda as it was approved.
All right, so first up is our administrative briefing. We have a conservation restriction 2286 Concord Street, Maggie Brown at Essex County Greenbelt.
That's correct, and Maggie is here.
Yes, hello. I'm Land Conservation Project Manager at Essex County Greenbelt, and I'm here before you all tonight to request certification of the conservation restriction at 286 Concord Street, which is being donated to Greenbelt. The certification, should you sign it, states that the conservation restriction is in the public benefit for permanently protecting the conservation values that it provides, which include scenic value, soil quality, excellent wildlife habitat connectivity. I'm happy to try to answer any questions.
Okay, commissioners, any comments or questions? We're always in favor of these. I can't see this to be any different, but maybe you should do roll call comments, Adrian, to see if anyone has any comments or questions.
Sure, for comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
No comment.
Co-chairwoman Jackson.
Only I'm in favor of it, certainly, but this is also adjacent to several other of your parcels to make one large extended one, I believe.
Several of these parcels that's adjacent to are conservation restrictions. They're still owned by private landowners.
Oh, okay, okay.
So, yeah.
That's fine, thank you.
And co-chair Mangala.
I have no comments. So based on that, I think that the commission is well in favor of this restriction, and therefore, we need to sign off on it, I would guess, or to move
Yeah,
this
I
forward.
would appreciate a motion to approve the municipal certification as presented.
Jackson moves to approve the municipal certification as requested by Greenbelt for 286 Concord Street.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-chairwoman Jackson,
Yes,
and Co-chair Mangala.
Yes,
Thank you. You're all set, Maggie. Thank you. Have a wonderful night.
thank you, Maggie.
Thank you all for your time. Have a good night.
Good night. Next up, still under administrative briefing, commission statement, memo in support of Mass Audubon CZM CRG application for Easton Point Sanctuary. Flavio Suti from Mass Audubon representing.
Good evening, everybody, and thank you for having me. Flavio Suti, I'm the conservation ecologist from Mass Audubon, and I'm here tonight to ask if you will provide a letter of support to our grant application to CZM, which we submitted last week. As you can see in this map, we are hoping to study the feasibility of some protective implementations for the Eastern Point parking lot at the end of the peninsula, and the Eastern Point Boulevard terminal section, basically the end of that section there. We are partnering with a firm that's well knowledgeable about these kind of work, and we are hoping to implement some living shorelines. And this is a picture of the area we'd like to intervene. So as a feasibility study, we are simply looking at what can be done in a more natural way to protect the parking lot and the boulevard. And if you go back, Adrian, one slide, just so you can see on the right, the potential threat that inundation would have in that area in the little inset there. So you'll see that the boulevard would be completely inundated if there was an hurricane. And we did a feasibility study on a vulnerability study on this area, and that portion there of land would be definitely impacted by climate change and sea level rise. If you have any question, I'm happy to answer any of them.
I don't have any questions at this time. Adrian, did you any big bullets that you want to mention, or just move to commissioner comments?
Sure. Well, I would like to share that I really appreciate seeing a project like this come before the commission with a request for support. I'm pleased to see Mass Audubon moving to apply to CZM for living shorelines in Gloucester. Gloucester has a long history of doing a lot of gray infrastructure to try to protect itself from climate change and sea level rise. And so here's a leading edge opportunity for Audubon to do some work on their sanctuary and kind of show the rest of us how it can be done.
Excellent. All right, why don't we do roll call commissioner comments?
Sure. Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments.
Commissioner Cook,
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
I'm in favor of this. It's an important study.
Commissioner Jackson,
I agree with Commissioner Sargent. No other comments.
okay, and Co-Chairman Gullah.
I would agree with Commissioner Sargent and Commissioner Jackson that this is important, and I'm all for it. And do you think we should vote on this as well, Adrian, or?
Yep, so I would appreciate if the commission would make a motion to approve a memo in support of Mass Audubon's CZM CRG application for Eastern Point Sanctuary.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves that the commission support a memo in support of Mass Audubon's CZM CRG or Coastal Resiliency Grant application for Eastern Point Sanctuary.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
And just for a point of reference here on this particular matter, I know it is time sensitive, so Co-Chairman Gullah, if you don't mind coming in to sign that memo for me tomorrow, I would appreciate it, and I will forward it on to Mr. Suti.
Just do me a favor and ping me in the morning. I'm going to write it down, but things are crazy right now. So just text me and say, get down here and sign this.
Okay. All right.
Thank you very much. I
Flavio.
really appreciate your support.
Oh,
Good luck
thank
with
you.
it.
Continue
Good
working.
luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next up is the public comment period. This is the period in the meeting when the public is welcome to speak towards conservation issues that are not on tonight's agenda. So if anybody wishes to speak, they may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
Okay. Amy Graves has her hand up. So Amy, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yep, name and address for the record.
Amy Greaves, 12 Lawndale Circle, Gloucester, Mass.
Mhm.
I just would like to ask for the request of potentially having some questions after the other commission business on the agenda tonight.
I'm sorry, what are you asking? I'm sorry.
Well, I am a little unclear as to the line item on the agenda under the other commission business for 677 Western Ave. And I would just like to reserve the possibility of having some questions after we understand what it is exactly that is all about.
Okay, it's part of a open meeting, so when we get to it, we'll open up for public comment.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else?
Yes, Joel Favaza, I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead, Joel.
Thank you. For the record, my name is Joel from I'm with Seaside Legal Solutions, 123 Main Street. I'm speaking tonight on behalf of James and Jan Bordenaro, owners of 126 Wheeler Street. As the commission may know, I wrote to the conservation agent on August 28th, 2020, alerting her to persistent violations at 128 Wheeler Street. I received no response, and I saw nothing added to any of the following agendas. I followed up on September 17th, 2020, again on August 6th, 2020, neither time receiving any response nor seeing the violations brought up on a Conservation Commission agenda. Majority of the violations were temporarily removed over the winter season, but they did return in spring of 21. And on May 20th, I once again reached out to report these violations. I received no response, and I have yet to see these violations be added to an agenda. And so I'm here tonight trying my best to alert the commission to ongoing violations that seem to be not receiving much traction, in hopes that this issue will be addressed by the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you see anyone else?
I do not see any other members of the public to comment at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up is minutes review and approval. So here we have August 5th, 2020, August 19th, 2020, May 5th, 2021, and May 19th, 2021. I think everybody's had a chance. We've gone into doing these in chunks of 4. I'm assuming we have enough. I can vote on them. For the record, I've listened to the tape from the previous meeting, and also can vote on these if needed, all these minutes. So I think we have enough, though, to continue, correct?
This is Bill. I couldn't find the 519 minutes.
Yeah, so you may have
Brad
had
Wall has the same problem.
only a rough draft of 519. So I think that you can vote on August 5, August 19, and May 5. And while we're talking about this, how did that work out? Commissioners commenting directly inside the draft on changes to the minutes. Was that okay?
I read everything, but I didn't edit anything because I didn't see, and Joe caught most of it. All my concerns anyways, but
Right.
I did notice, and it must have been May 19th. Is that why that was all in red? Is because what? When I opened that one up, May 19th, it was in red.
Yeah, so that one is still ongoing in process.
Okay,
So,
that's what that means. Okay. So
yeah.
otherwise I was fine with it. I didn't have any.
Actually, Ann Joe did not edit these. Adrian, I spoke with you once before about my problems accessing stuff on my computer. They continue. I didn't have any of the minutes. And I just did not have a chance to call Debbie today because I was on the road from Maine.
Okay.
So I have a picture of my screen, and I'm going to call her tomorrow and see
Okay.
if we can straighten this out.
Okay. Yeah, we definitely need to try to resolve it.
So I
Yeah.
saw sometimes where I saw points you made comments in, Joe. You saying you didn't make those comments?
I don't know. I don't know whether I may have seen August 5th and August 19th before. I don't know.
Oh.
I have not within the past 2 weeks made comments on minutes.
Okay. Interesting. Because I
Yeah.
did see comments by you.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
It did get through.
It's my alter ego.
It's Paul up at night working on these.
That's it.
Um,
That's it.
Okay,
Bill and Barry did not get an opportunity to read 19th. It wasn't posted this weekend.
okay, so why don't we move forward with confirming August 5th, August 19th, and May 5th? Are everyone okay with that?
Yes, can you tell me which minutes I commented on, Rob?
I can't now because I don't have the drive open.
Okay, all right.
I think it was 5th and the 19th, the 5th and the
Okay.
19th.
Yeah, I would think it would be those two. All right, then I will vote on those. Okay.
So you want to put forth a motion to approve the 5th, 19th, and 5th, or do you want me to do it? Because you might not be able to vote on them.
I will move to approve the minutes of August 5th, 2020 and August 19th, 2020. And I'll do May 5th separately because I'm going to abstain from that one.
Okay,
Charpentier seconds?
Okay, and a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Same.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
yes,
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the minutes from May 5th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Abstain?
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
yes.
Thank you.
We'll table the 19th to next meeting.
And yep, you'll have to move that.
I move to postpone approval of the minutes of May 19th, 2021 to the meeting of June 16th.
Charpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, moving right along, we have continued business. First up is ANRAD 28-2765, 171 to 281 Magnolia Avenue, HowMag LLC, Mike DeRosa of DeRosa Environmental Consulting. This has been previously continued to July 21st. So next up would be notice of intent, 28-2762, 652 Essex Avenue, Hersey, Carl Gardner at the Gardner Company representing.
Good evening. I'm trying to get my video up here. There we go. Good evening. I'm Carl Gardner, 9 Woods Lane at Ipswich. I'm the applicant, and I'm under contract to purchase this property from Richard Hersey. The last item of business was a site visit that took place at 3 p.m. on May 25th. I was there, Mr. Hersey was there, Ms. Lennon was there, along with, I believe, Mr. Cook, was it?
Yes.
And I'm just wanted to follow up on that and see if we can get a consensus from the board this evening.
Okay. So next up would be let's try opening it up for public comment, Adrian.
Mhm.
So if anybody wishes to speak for or against the project at 652 Essex Avenue, you may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
There are no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, with that, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up would be commissioner comments. So if you want to do a roll call on that.
Commissioner Charpentier,
No comments?
Commissioner Cook,
No, when we did the walkthrough, the resource area, you can see the flags where it had been previously delineated. There is a stone wall, which is basically, going to be where the footings for the back facing deck is. So I really don't have any comments on that. So I think it's okay.
Commissioner Gradwall,
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yeah, I appreciate reviewing the May 17th submitted mitigation planting plan. I'd like to see a monitoring component to that plan. And I know if this, proposal were a redevelopment, the stormwater standard would be to the maximum extent practical. And this proposal is an improvement over there, over what was there before the building burned.
Good.
That's it.
Thank you. Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I also had comments on the planting plan. We usually require a little more specificity, such as the amount of ground to be covered, the number of plants, the size of plants that are going to be installed. I did note that you're putting in barriers or demarcations, which I appreciate very much. And I'm perfectly willing to have that kind of specificity provided and just submitted to the agent.
Okay.
I can do that, certainly.
Thank you.
Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yeah, I didn't see it. If the applicant can just confirm, I read I listened to the video, audio, I should say, in video. But the protection, some other people made comments on this. What's the key? Do we have a split rail fence? I didn't see it in markers delineating that this is a wetland and needs to be taken, access. If anybody wants to do anything, they need to contact the Conservation Commission within that area. Do we have that?
If I may respond, on the planting plan, it shows not a split rail fence, but a 5 post permanent markers that would be located as shown approximately on the plan, about 20 feet apart, with the whatever signage that the commission prefers on those markers. I've used split rail fences before where that seems to make sense. In this application, I don't believe it does make sense, because this area is not essentially going to be the limit of a backyard or per se. It's going to be a renaturalized area, and with markers the way I'm proposing them, it would be certainly obvious to the owners of the 2 units that has to be reviewed by anyone if they propose to alter them. But it's going to be reestablished as a healthier part of the lot, and those 5 posts will make it clear to the 2 owners that it's off limits for certain activities.
Okay. Well, have we come to agreement on the verbiage of those signs?
I've used different language in different jurisdictions, so I'm happy to defer to what the commission uses as a standard in a situation like this. Normally, I have a metal plaque that's fabricated. It's at least 6 by 8 or so, and it's I slice the post at a diagonal and mount it to the post, and the plaque is all weather. It's like a street sign in the same, made in a similar way. It can be green, it can be white, black, whatever the preference is, but
I'm not worried about the color. I'm worried about the verbiage, meaning I want people to know very clearly that going beyond, because they own this property, these people will. And this is a very tight project, very close to a resource. I want the words to be obviously, aggressive isn't the proper term, but I want it to be clear that no cutting, or once you move on and sell the property, this is what we have to worry about as a commission.
usually the phrase is, wetland resource area, no disturbance beyond this point, as per Conservation Commission, something to that effect.
Okay, like a little more aggressive, but that's fine. That'll work. Okay, that's all I had.
Mm-hmm.
So based on that, unless commissioners have anything else, and Anjo's or Adrian's comfortable with submitting an updated landscape volume, telling us what's being planted and square footages in more detail, I guess we can move on with a approval of this.
Can I
Adrian,
get
you're
clarification
comfortable?
on that criteria, please? You
Excuse me?
said landscape volume, I don't know, I'm not sure.
Yeah,
what you-
the total volume that you are landscaping, that you're adding plants to, how many of each type of plant, and basically the sizes. Are they, little tiny seedlings? Are they 3-foot plants? That kind of thing.
I typically source my plants from Pearson Nurseries in Biddeford, Maine,
Okay,
and they're not, you're better off putting in a plant that's not a seedling, but maybe less than 24 inches in size, so it can establish itself easily, be transplanted easily, and weather the grazing from any deer that might invade the area. As they are.
and that's fine.
Yeah.
And if you could also build in, what do we usually have, a 2-year mortality rate? So that, what, at 80%?
mention in the
Is that
plan
what
that-
it is?
Anything would be replaced after 1 year if you.
We do 2 years.
If something's not established after a year, it's not going to succeed anyway,
Well, we do a 2-year mortality. I'd like a 2-year on this one. It's so close. I want it to get a chance to establish itself.
If it makes a year, it's going to make 2 years typically.
Okay.
Yeah,
Well, then you shouldn't have an issue with it, I would guess, right?
I'm fine with that. Yep.
Okay.
Thank you. Then Commissioner Jackson will move to approve NOI
Close,
0.
close.
I'm sorry, you're right. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282762 at 652 Essex Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282762 at 652 Essex Avenue with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds.
And roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
May I ask a administrative question? At the beginning of the meeting, Adrian mentioned about anything approved this evening would be issued on the 16th. Is that would apply to this situation?
Yes, it will be approved on the 17th. So it's,
On this, okay,
we
so,
give the commission the opportunity to approve the meeting minutes from the previous meeting so that there's an absolute confirmation of what the conditions were. And then the following day, the order is prepared to be released. You will need to submit the follow-up information to me in that 2-week window.
thank you very much.
Okay,
Great.
thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Okay, next up is notice of intent 20-2774, 8 Island Rock Road, Brackpool. Bill Manuel at Wetlands and Land Management representing.
Hi, everyone. Bill Manuel speaking from Wetlands and Land Management in Danvers, Mass. Since our last meeting on May 5th, DMF had commented about potential eelgrass in the area. And we had a eelgrass survey conducted. We actually had a diver in the water on 2 occasions and have now mapped where that eelgrass is. And we have repositioned the proposed pier, ramp, and float. Basically, the pier, if you see in the sort of the lower right corner, just offshore, there was a 6-foot diameter patch of eelgrass, and that would have occurred at the very outer edge of where the previous float location was. We've now shifted it from basically the 4 o'clock position, if you will, to the 6 o'clock position. And we provide, I think, 38 feet of separation to that small sort of fragmented patch of eelgrass. And then there's a larger mass offshore, further offshore, and we provide 34 feet of separation to the outer edge of the float, to the larger mass of eelgrass. DMF in their guide for small docks and piers, they recommend a 25-foot separation. So we more than adequately cover that separation. The diver noted at low tide that there will be 7 feet of water underneath the float. That was a question at the last time. We've revised our profile. We just didn't have that bathymetry offshore because frankly, the shoreline sort of dropped off rather steeply where the bedrock met the water. So the surveyors weren't able to accomplish that, but the diver was able to measure that water depth at low tide. At high tide, we'll have over 11 feet of water over the float, or under the floats, I should say. So there's no damage or no possibility of at all of prop scour as a boat approaches the float coming over the eelgrass. So we've got that covered as well. The last thing I want to point out is that we did reduce the size of the float to your standard 10 by 20. This larger size would have been better in this sort of open harbor environment, but that's just we went back to Dirk Murray and he said, a 10 by 20 will be adequate. Might be a little rocky at times in certain weather, but it will be adequate. So if we don't have to call that card, we're not going to call it today, and then we'll just go back to the 10 by 20. The rest of the project was the accessory building on the land side of the existing home. And that's an 18 by 24 feature. That's positioned in an area that has basically been nuked by the previously approved home renovation project. That home renovation project is winding up. And the last component of this particular application was an extensive landscape plan that was submitted for approval as well. So we meet the criteria offshore, what DMF recommends, and we have all the information onshore to stabilize the area and finish up the whole renovation project.
Okay, thank you. We'll first go to public comment. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 8 Island Rock Road may do so now by pressing the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
So we have Cynthia. I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, thank you. Cynthia Picciuto, 2 Raven Lane. I had actually came to the first meeting and asked some questions, but I think because of time, you were unable to answer them. So I'm hoping you can answer them tonight. What is the potential effect on neighbors from the noise and odors and or fumes due to the boats or other water vehicles? And secondly, will there be an increase in the hazards in regards to storms and users of the waters, which past Gloucester reports have tried to mitigate?
Is that it?
That is it. That is
Okay.
it. The other ones have been answered about the eelgrass. I'm guessing that our boats well, maybe my third question is, are boats going to be allowed there overnight?
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak for or against the project at 8 Island Rock Road?
There are no other members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. My first comment, right off the top, Mr. Manuel, has DMF reviewed the new location of the dock and everything, and they're okay with it, or?
We have submitted this to Kate Frew, DMF. She unfortunately is on vacation through today, but we do, at her previous comments, the criteria when around eelgrass is the DMF recommends a 25-foot separation, and we have that more than adequately covered.
Okay. I would really like to hear from DNF prior to approving this myself, just because it's a new location. You know how sensitive eelgrass is to this commission. So but we'll wait and see what other commissioners have to say. But I'd love to hear from DMF on the new location before I sign off on it, but maybe I can be swayed elsewhere moving on. So why don't we do roll call comments, Adrian, for commissioners?
Commissioner comments, Commissioner Charpentier,
I'm with Rob. I think the letter from DMF would be good.
Commissioner Cook,
Well, first, Bill, I'd like to thank you for all the work in the survey done out there and moving it and reducing it. So I'm really happy with it. I think based on the results of the survey and the way you've moved it, DMF's not going to have a problem with it. So, I mean, I can move it. I'd be comfortable moving ahead myself, but it's up to the rest of the commissioners.
Commissioner Gradwell,
I think you did a fine job on it, but I go along with Chairman that to wait till 2 weeks to have a quick meeting at the very beginning won't be very destructive.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yeah, I want to thank you for the meaningful revisions as well. I think DMF had some questions about the Eelgrass survey methodology, and I'd like to have that settled before signing off. And I'd also like to have Harbor Master comments to make sure that the public's right of navigation isn't impacted to, neighbors. And all material has to be non-toxic to the marine environment.
we heard from Co-Chairman Gullah and now Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
I agree. I think we might as well stick with our standard protocol of waiting to hear from DMF. And I would also like to hear from the Harbor Master. I do appreciate all of the changes, and I hope there'll be an opportunity for the applicant to respond to the caller's comments as well.
Okay. So back to me, I'm last again, but my final comments again, I just want to hear from DMF. And this is more of a response to the public comments. So in general, we don't deal with noise and smell here, but hazards, if that person is still listening, hazards will be determined by the Harbor Master. And that's why we're requesting a little note from him to say that there is no issues here. Other than that, I think you've heard it from everyone, Mr. Manuel. So are you okay with a 2-week continuation?
The applicant was really hoping that we would be able to get something approved tonight, since we are clearly compliant with the DMF recommendations. 2 weeks, we lose 2 weeks, plus we lose 2 weeks for drafting the order of conditions, plus we lose 2 weeks for the 10 business day appeal period. And, now we're into August. We were really hoping to move forward after tonight and at least perhaps get some usage and enjoyment out of this pier ramp and float for this season.
I hear you, but I mean, even if I think you might have been taking a bit of a straw poll as we were going through, I would guess it's not going to get approved. So until we get a little more information. So I don't know if you want us to vote, we'll vote. That's your call.
I appreciate that, and it's just unfortunate that Kate is on vacation through this evening, and but I appreciate the straw poll too, and that gives me some good information.
Okay.
With respect to the neighbors' comments, I mean, I agree. The noise. One thing I can say is that yes, there will likely be boats moored there overnight. I don't think that's anything different than any other float in the city.
Agreed.
And Harbor Master, well, he will weigh in on whether there's any hazards to navigation. This is a residential float. I believe the neighbor even closer or directly adjacent has a pier ramp and float. It's a residential property. I think all the neighbors are respectful of their respective neighbors. So I don't see any unusual usage or noise or hazards or something like that. like that. So I don't think the neighbors have to worry about this. We did discuss getting the harbor master's comments at the last meeting, and I have at the onset of this filing did submit comments to Shellfish and Harbor Master, and they, Harbor Master at least, responded that they will not comment until they get a request from conservation. So Adrian, if you would be sure to request of them to please provide comment, that would be wonderful.
Yeah, I did actually make this request to both the harbor master and Shellfish. I think it caught the Shellfish Constable's attention more, so I will certainly ping the harbor master again. And I know Shellfish is looking for clarity on the position of Division of Marine Fisheries before qualifying as well.
Yeah, I didn't have that information that Shellfish had commented. It wasn't in the project folder online.
Oh, he has not. He has not made a comment yet.
Okay. All right, so I think we need to continue this to June 16th.
Correct. And Joe?
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282774, 8 Island Rock Road to the commission's meeting on June 16th.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. And I do appreciate all the work that's been done. It's a real sensitive area to this commission, and that's why we're here. So, but thank you for your patience. Next up, notice of intent 28-2775 Fort Hill Avenue. Tiernan, trustee, Libby Wallace of Hayes Engineering representing. Oh, this one is, I'm assuming this one's still withdrawn?
Yeah, so the applicant did send me an email shortly before the meeting this afternoon and request that the commission withdraw the notice of intent application without prejudice. However, I do see the representative is here tonight. Ms. Wallace, you're welcome to have the floor if you would like it to make the request yourself.
Thank you. We are requesting the withdrawal of the notice of intent. So if the commission would grant that request, we would appreciate it.
Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so we don't need to close any hearings or anything, right?
You do need to close the hearing and then approve the request to withdraw without prejudice.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282775 at 14 Fort Hill Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the request for withdrawal without prejudice for NOI 0282775 at 14 Fort Hill Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gulla.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up is notice of intent 0282776 11 Webster Street, the city of Gloucester. Richard Kirby at LEC Environmental representing. They are requesting a continuation to June 16th, 2021.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282776 at 11 Webster Street to the commission's meeting of June 16th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Okay.
Next up, notice of intent, no DEP number, 24 Fernwood Lake Ave, Lee, Mingzhu Yang applicant. So you want to take this one, Adrian? I don't know what we do here.
We're in the same position we were in 2 weeks ago. I think I will have to go and present myself physically at the project location. The applicant has not responded to phone calls and emails, and at this time is not moving forward independently on permitting this project. So I will try to reach out to them personally, or I should say physically, to try to help guide them through the rest of the permitting process. Obviously, this is not a very heavy lift in permitting. I think that the concern has more to do with there was an incomplete application submitted to DEP through the eDEP portal, which can be very confusing. So I will try to do the best I can to put this one back on the rails in the next.
But for the record, you have tried to reach out via email and phone calls.
Yes, yeah, I think I have to go and knock on the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we'll continue this to the 16th or?
Yes, that is the only option.
Okay.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028, no DEP number assigned at 24 Fernwood Lake Avenue to the commission's meeting of June 16th, 2021.
Carpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
no, Chairwoman Jackson, it's my turn. Sorry.
Yes.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Oh.
Okay. So we have notice of intent 28-2785, 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 1 has been previously continued to June 16th. We have notice of intent 28- no DEP number, 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 2, or Lots 2 it says, Lot 2.
That's my fault.
Okay, Lot 2, that is also previously continued to June 16th. And then we have Lot 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3, also previously continued. Oh, that has a DEP number. So notice of intent 20-2784, 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3 has been previously continued to June 16th. So now we move into new business. First up is RDA 1701 51A River Road, Hackett, trustee, and Dan Ottenheimer, Mill River Consulting representing.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, commissioners. Are the acoustics okay? Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yes, you've come a long way
Great.
since the beginning of this pandemic with your audio issues.
Very good memory. That was embarrassing, but yeah.
You handled it well. Name and address for the record.
Dan Ottenheimer, engineer with Mill River Consulting at 6 Sergeant Street here in Gloucester. So give a little background. The commission might recall several years ago, you kindly endorsed the construction of a dock ramp and float, or a concrete pad ramp and float at 51A River Road in Lobster Cove. Construction has started. So the float is under construction, the ramp is under construction, and the concrete pad has been built. Now that everything is lining up, it turns out there are 3 pieces of granite that are going to interfere with the ramp at low tide. So that's what we're here before you this evening. So the entire bank is all fill. You can see the rubble that was placed there, obviously not naturally occurring at all. There are 3 of these pieces that we would like to break off the top part of. So we're not looking to pick up and move the rocks. What we would do is not using any gasoline powered equipment, all electric. go for the old granite harvesting technique of using an electric drill to drill a couple of pilot holes and then feather and wedge and snap off a piece of the granite, and it will land right next to the rock itself. And that's what we're looking to do, basically shave things down a bit so we don't have interference with the ramp at low tide. So you can see in the picture on the right, we've identified the specific 3 rocks that are in need of attention. So that's what we'd like to ask your consideration of, and obviously answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, first of all, we'll have a public comment. If anybody wishes to speak for or against the project at 51A River Road, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
There are no members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Next up would be roll call comments from the commissioners.
Sure. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
No comments at this time.
Commissioner Cook.
No comments.
Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment.
Commissioner Sargent.
No comment.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No comment.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
No comment. So with that, this is an RDA. Unless, Adrian, you have anything to add? I guess we can move for a negative determination.
I do not have anything to add.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1701 at 51A River Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1701 at 51A River Road.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Thank you for your time this evening, commissioners. I greatly appreciate it.
Have a good night.
Thanks.
Next up, notice of intent 28- no DEP number at this time, 966R Washington Street, O'Grady and John Judd at Gateway Consultants representing.
Mr. Chairman, for the record, just a couple of minutes ago, I did receive a message from the applicant's representative for both the next 2 hearings, 028XXXX 966R Washington Street, and also 028XXXX 97 Coles Island Road, with a request to continue both hearings until June 16th.
Oh, okay. Do you want to take it away, Anjo?
Yep. In that case, Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI unassigned DEP number at 966R Washington Street to the commission's meeting of June 16th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Rob, are you announcing the next one, or shall I just continue it?
If you don't mind continuing.
Sure.
Taking
Commissioner
notes.
Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 97 Coles Island Road to the commission's meeting of June 16th, 2021.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call. Commissioner Charpentier.
Yes.
Commissioner Cook.
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell.
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
Yes.
And Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
Next up, notice of intent XXX, no DEP number, 65 to 73 Essex Avenue. It's 65 to 73 Essex Avenue LLC. Megan Kearns of Epsilon representing.
Good evening, everyone. Adrian, if you don't mind, Chris Tamula from GPI is in the attendees. If you don't mind moving him to a panelist. I'm going to promote you. Welcome. Great, thank you so much.
Good evening. I'll start. This is Harley Racer with law firm Lurie Friedman, 1 McKinley Square, Boston, Massachusetts, 02109, representing 6573 Essex Avenue LLP. We are here tonight, and the presenters will be Megan Kearns with Epsilon, the environmental consultant for the project, and Chris Tamula, the engineer for the project. I think we may also have Jim Paterno, the project manager, if needs be. Just to give a brief update of where the project is, last year we did go before the Zoning Board of Appeals and obtained 4 items of relief from the ZBA that we needed, including a variance to the definition of lot, because we will be combining these lots at the planning board, and there is no upland on either of the parcels. So we obtained the variance to the definition so that we can move forward with our A&R at the planning board. We will also be filing shortly with the planning board for site plan review and approval, and then city council for a special permit for marijuana establishment. We have had conversations with the building inspector and with the planning department, pre-application and scoping meetings, and those applications are next in line. And I'll now turn it to Megan Kearns to discuss the existing conditions and the project presentation.
Great, thank you, Harley. Like you said, I'm Megan Kearns, a project scientist at Epsilon Associates. And I'm here presenting the notice of intent application on behalf of 65 to 73 Essex Avenue LLC for the redevelopment of the property located at 65 to 73 Essex Avenue. Just a few administrative items to address. We did send the proof of mailing via email to you, Adrian. Let me know if you didn't get that and I can send it again. And it does look like you put in the DEP file number that was issued earlier today, but just for the record, it was 0282786, and there were no comments from DEP at this time.
Before you begin, Megan, if this is the only slide that is actually attached to, I know you can see sort of on the left-hand side, I pulled a couple of pages that my sort of standard presentation deck for a project, but this permit application, of course, is 200 pages long. We're working off of the site plan as part of the presentation, but if there are other plans that you would like to present from, or also Chris, I can bring them over.
Okay, great. Yeah, I think there are a couple of plans. This one will probably work fine for existing conditions, but there's a grading and drainage plan we'll probably want to pull up to discuss some stormwater. So I'll let Chris talk about that. But so as discussed in the notice of intent application, the applicant's proposing to redevelop the property at 65 to 73 Essex Avenue. Specifically, they're proposing to replace the existing mobile gas station, Tom's Auto Service, service garage and convenience store with a new gas station and convenience store / retail building, also including upgrades to the existing stormwater management system to meet current standards. And we are in front of you this evening because the site is located within 200-foot riverfront area and land subject to coastal storm flowage, both associated with the tidally influenced Annisquam River. Portions of the work are also proposed in the 100-foot buffer zone to coastal bank and salt marsh. The project site is approximately 3/4 of an acre and located adjacent to Essex Avenue. As I'm sure you all have driven by the site before, it's generally level and entirely impervious, consisting of the mobile gas station, service garage, and convenience store. The site is bordered to the north and west by a hotel and full service marina. To the south, there is a municipal wastewater treatment plant and some salt marsh. To the east is the Annisquam River and other adjacent coastal wetland resource areas. As I mentioned earlier, the coastal wetland resource area is defined under the Massachusetts Wetlands Protection Act and the Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance, were identified as Coastal Bank, Salt Marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and 200-foot riverfront area. And both Coastal Bank and Salt Marsh have a 100-foot buffer zone extending from their delineated boundaries.
Adrian, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
I just can't see. Oh, I see it now. The riverfront area is a straight line, which is catching me off guard. Okay.
Yeah, so I'll get to it in a second, but that the dotted box sort of in the middle of the plan is what's located outside of riverfront area. So it's a very sort of where, if you go up a little bit and to the left, there's basically the entire site's in riverfront area is what it comes down to.
Okay. So after your presentation, at some point, we have to vote on, I didn't get deep into this, to be honest with you. I missed the last meeting. I caught up on that. I got into this one a little bit. And an alternatives analysis, is it in the filing?
No, I don't believe we have an alternatives analysis. We're calling this riverfront area previously developed and degraded, as it's all pavement, parking lot, and buildings.
But you noted that in your application.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. I'm good. Sorry to interrupt.
No worries.
I
So
just couldn't-
yeah, no worries. Just to give you a brief description, the Coastal Bank to the south of the project site is nearby a couple salt marshes. It's mostly comprised of a rocky slope and the roadway embankment. The Coastal Bank to the east of the project site is next to another salt marsh that consists of the same rocks, a little bit of vegetation, and also the roadway parking lot embankment. So there are 3 areas of salt marsh that were observed adjacent to the project site. It might be a little hard to see it on this plan, but they are sort of on the bottom side. So salt marsh 1 and 2 are 2 small but distinct patches of salt marsh that occur along the northern side of the creek, directly opposite of Essex Avenue from the site. And salt marsh 3 is a more remote, isolated patch of salt marsh located approximately 100 feet east of the site, sort of along the base of the riprap seawall. As depicted on the site plan there, the entire project site is located within land subject to coastal storm flowage. The project site is located adjacent to the tidally influenced Annisquam River, and the western portion of Gloucester Harbor is in an area that's very susceptible to flooding from coastal storm events. According to the FEMA flood insurance rate map, the project site's located in a zone AE with a flood base elevation of 13 feet, NAVD. Lastly, the 200-foot riverfront area extends from the mean annual high water line of the Annisquam River and directly overlays the entire project site, except for that little square that I pointed out. As per the Wetland Protection Act regulations, the riverfront area on site is considered previously developed and degraded riverfront area because it is comprised of all pavement and buildings. And our performance standards in our notice of intent application reflect our compliance with these previously developed and degraded standards. So the applicant is proposing to demolish the existing mobile gas station and other related structures. The existing underground fuel storage tanks, canopy, and fuel islands will be removed and properly disposed of. A licensed site professional will oversee the existing tank closure and provide all required testing and reports during this process. The applicant is proposing to redevelop the site by constructing a new gas filling station and convenience/retail store, as I mentioned. The filling station will consist of 4 fueling stations with 8 fueling positions, including a diesel position. 2 new double-walled fiberglass underground fuel storage tanks will be installed, in addition to hydrodynamic oil water separators and an emergency shutoff valve at the outlet side of the 2,500-gallon oil water separator unit. The existing stormwater management is being upgraded and improved on the entire site, which Chris Tamula from GPI will get into in a little more detail shortly.
But overall, the proposed project will result in about 9% decrease in impervious surface, which is about 2,700 square feet. The project will also involve the construction of a new two-story building, approximately 4,500 square feet of convenience store space on the first floor with 4,500 square feet of retail space on the second floor. In addition to these redevelopment activities, the project will also reconstruct the existing curb cuts on Essex Avenue and reconfigure the existing parking areas to accommodate this new development. A total of 27 on-site parking spaces will be provided, generally located in front of the convenience store and the retail building. I'll now turn it over to Chris Tamula from GPI to discuss the stormwater system upgrades that we're proposing.
Great, thank you, Megan. Yeah, Andrea, that plan was fine. The erosion control plan, that'll work just fine because it'll kind of work as both the erosion control plan as well as the grading and drainage. Great, thank you. Good evening, commission members. For the record, my name is Chris Tamula. I'm a project manager at Green and Peterson out of Salem, New Hampshire. So Megan did a good job explaining what's going on the site. What you're looking at now is our erosion and sedimentation control plan. With this plan, I'll be able to describe what we're doing for on-site erosion control, as well as the upgraded stormwater management that we're proposing on-site. So currently today, there is really no on-site stormwater management. The entire site drains from north to south towards Essex Ave to a closed drainage system along 133, which then drains southwest across the road and into the salt marsh that Megan was talking about. The proposed development, what we're proposing is a series of deep sump hooded catch basins, hydrodynamic separators, so first offense units, a 2,500 gallon oil water separator at the outlet prior to discharge into Route 133. In addition to the on-site stormwater management, the convenience store and the gas canopy will have roof drains, which will connect into the proposed drainage system. And overall, we have a net decrease, as Megan indicated, of about 9% or 2,767 square feet of impervious coverage on site. So that's additionally 2,767 square feet of green space, essentially, on site. From an erosion control point of view, all the proposed catch basins will be equipped with silt sacks during construction to minimize any erosion and sediment getting into the existing drainage system. The existing drainage system along 133 will also be equipped with silt sacks to prevent any erosion and sedimentation from getting into that drainage system. We have a stabilized construction entrance at the to minimize any vehicle tracking onto the road. We have soil stockpiling areas, and the entire site is surrounded by silt fence or silt sock to prevent any erosion from getting off site. In addition to the erosion control and in the drainage plan, we also have a full stormwater management and operation plan, and we have a total reduction in the peak rate of runoff leaving the site in all design storms, consistent with both the city as well as state standards from a stormwater management point of view. Overall, it's a significant upgrade over existing conditions. Again, there's nothing out there today, and we're meeting the standards to the maximum extent practicable. We are not proposing any stormwater recharge on site for obvious reasons, being the fact that it is a land use with high pollutant load, being a gas station and convenience store. That's really essentially it from a grading and drainage point of view.
Thanks, Chris. And I'll quickly touch on, as I mentioned earlier, the entire site is located within land subject to coastal storm flowage, approximately 32,000 square feet. As you know, the Wetlands Protection Act and regulations do not list any performance standards for land subject to coastal storm flowage. However, certain projects must comply with the state building code, which incorporates standards for flood resistant design and construction associated with structural integrity of any facility. The applicant is coordinating with the Gloucester Building Department to ensure that the proposed building design and gas station conforms with the state building code standards relative to floodproofing and resiliency. The applicant consulted with Weston and Sampson, another environmental consulting company, on options for floodproofing the new building. And that memorandum is provided in attachment H to our notice of intent. But just to summarize quickly, the applicant has incorporated several measures from that report, which includes exterior building walls that will be constructed below the design flood elevation of waterproof concrete. Any windows below the design flood elevation will use floodproof glass. Doorway openings will be limited to meet the building code requirements. Stop log panels will be used at egress openings along the front of the store, and flood doors will be deployed at all limited use stores. And all tanks and tank inlets, fill openings, outlets, and vents that are located below the design flood elevation will be designed, constructed, installed, and anchored to resist all flood-related or other loads. I will now open it up to the commission. If you have any questions, we'd be happy to answer them.
Okay, first we go to usually our public comment period, so we'll do that first. If anybody in the public wishes to speak for or against the project at 665 to 73 Essex Avenue, you may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device. Or tablet, I should say.
I see no comments from the public at this time.
Okay, seeing none, hearing none, seeing none, hearing none, we'll move on to commissioner comments.
Commissioner comments. Commissioner Charpentier.
Not at this time.
Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, one comment. And for me personally, I'm trying to orient the new layout with the existing layout. You said Tom's Tire is going away. Now, is the gas pumps basically going to be where Tom's Tire is? And
Yeah,
then
they look like light switches on the plan, but I think those are all the.
Yeah, and I can answer that. Basically, in the middle of the screen, you see the sort of a narrow rectangular area. Tom's Tire is essentially located where the proposed underground fuel storage tanks are located along the left-hand side of the site, and the fuel canopy is basically to the right of those fuel storage tanks. So the existing canopy, where it sits today, is along the rightmost side of the proposed canopy, if that makes sense.
Okay, and the building's moving basically more into the parking lot.
And the building would be on the far right side where there's an existing large parking lot today, correct?
Yeah, okay. And there's still going to be parking? Is there still going to be parking on the furthest right-hand side of this?
Yes, so there'll be parking in front of the store. There'll be 9 spaces in front of the store. And then if you're standing at the store, to the left of the store along the back rear property line, there'll be 8 spaces. And then along the left-hand side of the site, essentially where Tom's Auto is right now, there'll be 10 additional parking spaces there for a total of 27 spaces.
Okay, so the new building is effectively going all the way over to the end of the parking lot.
That is correct.
Okay, that's what I was trying to get. So that's going to be where the parking lot is right now. Okay.
Correct.
No, I think you've done a marvelous job with it so far. I just was trying to wrap my head around where it was going to be. Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
No other comments.
Okay, and just for the applicant's representatives reference, we will go through a roll call of comments and then you'll have the opportunity to respond to all at once. Commissioner Gradwell.
No comment at this time.
Commissioner Sargent.
Yeah, I found the application to be very thorough. I kept on looking for something wrong, and then there was an answer to it. I just hope that you don't have too many surprises when you're excavating. That's it.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson.
No, it was certainly a very thorough application. I did notice at one point you mentioned in one of your presentations just now, you mentioned the decrease in 2,767 square feet. And one of you mentioned that it would be green space. And somewhere in the application, it mentioned typical perennial shrubs and tree plantings. But I wondered if there was a more detailed landscape plan of what was going to be planted where. I may have missed it, or I may not have, I'm not sure.
And Co-Chair Mandela.
Similar comments to Commissioner Jackson's. The planting, you know, I get it. It's basically a commercial structure, but it is a sensitive area. It looks like you have a fair amount. But I think that maybe some of it we could do a little better, and potentially, I don't know, these areas look so narrow. I don't know if we'll probably have to put some mortality on them, but these kinds of plantings and these kinds of scenarios need a little extra effort to actually have them not flourish, or even just do well. So that looks a little weak right now for me, but everything else, like other commissioners said, it's a really detailed application, well done. A couple other comments I'm curious about. So what I'm hearing is the building is not out of flood. Is that true? And also, what is the status of the soils beneath this, and as far as disturbance goes during this whole process? I know you have an area for stockpiling. I don't know if that's for soils or if that's for, are we just going to cap this? I know you're not going to recharge for obvious reasons. So my 3 bullets were planting. Are you out of flood? It doesn't appear you are. And then lastly, stormwater management, material subterranean. And that's it for me.
Okay, and I am just going to add here, I did do a fairly comprehensive pre-application meeting with the representative team here. The one thing that we did talk about that we haven't mentioned yet tonight, and that I have not seen in the office, is the MIPA filing. The project is definitely going to require MIPA review, and I know also the planning board is probably going to request that too. So the sooner we can get an ENF in the office and start to gather that feedback from all of the other representative agencies, the better.
Okay. So who wants to respond? Megan, I guess that would be you.
Sure. So I can start talking about the landscape plan, I guess, which is sheet 8. Is that right? Sheet 8 of 11. So we do have listed right now a couple shrubs, mostly dogwood, inkberry, and pine to be planted. And like you said, perennials and grasses mix for seed. We'd be happy to coordinate with the commission on getting any feedback for that landscape plan.
Especially as things go towards the resource, we get a little nervous. I'm worried about, I do notice this fencing. Is that true all the way around the site?
I will let Chris, I don't know, is there fencing that, yes.
That's what I can answer. So we do have just a small security fencing along the right-hand side to the right of the building. There's no other proposed fencing shown on the site. Everything else would be existing fencing that is off our property.
Okay. It's just trash and debris blowing into the marsh and the resource. That's a concern.
Sure.
But a more rigorous planting plan, unfortunately, could help capture some of that. Do we have a management plan or a cleaning plan for this place? I'm just worried about chunking the resource.
Yeah, obviously, the applicant wants to do a good job keeping the site clean. They're very cognizant of the fact that, they are surrounded by wetlands and resource areas. If, they have a pretty diligent, maintenance plan and cleaning trash up and keeping the site clean. Obviously, they want to keep the site clean to promote their business. So I really don't see that being an issue here.
I do. I'm very concerned. Trash is a big problem in our society. Trash is a real big problem in Gloucester. And I see these are very sensitive areas. We're in marsh. I would like to see maybe there can be a fence put along the back to at least keep trash from blowing in. It doesn't have to be a big fence. I don't even know if that's a good thing with, you know, the migration of critters, but I am concerned about this being, you know, trash management in all projects, actually. Not that to say, you know, this is still a great project. I still think it's a valid project. These are the details that concern me. My other one was, what about the material subterranean and the disturbance of those?
Yeah, I'll let you answer that.
Yeah, so the purpose of the soil stockpiling plan that we have on the erosion control plan was less about the subsurface soils and more of having a place to stockpile the debris that's on site currently. We haven't done any testing for the drainage design itself. I believe we've done some geotechnical exploration. I just don't have that information off the top of my head.
Okay. Because, I mean, when you're digging these holes and manipulating it, as you said, that soil below is probably heavily polluted. And how do we manage that and take care of all that?
Yeah, and as Megan mentioned, we will have an LSP on site to make sure that the soil is is taken care of properly.
Are we gonna have a wash off station for trucks? Are we gonna be, is that in here and I'm not seeing it, or?
Typically they don't have wash off stations for the vehicles on site. That's not something that we typically propose on any of our plans.
Okay. All right, that was it for me. I don't know, Adrian, if you had any other comments. We haven't heard from, obviously we're gonna need MIPA, but I don't know if this is, I would assume we're continuing for a little more information and based on our comments, but I don't know how far to go with it tonight.
Yeah, well, so there's, in terms of next steps for this project, just as the representative presented at the beginning, this project is also going before the planning board. It will require engineering review for DEP stormwater standards and the stormwater management plan. So the commission is not really in a position to evaluate that independently. Either the engineering department will reach a consensus with the applicant and issue a memo. Alternatively, the commission may consider a third-party review for the interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance. I don't think we're quite there yet. And then, of course, we do need to see the ENF. I am positive we will get feedback and comments from other agencies. So I think this is a good opening. It's a nice place to start. We'll look forward to hearing more as the permitting process unfolds.
Okay, I do appreciate the 2,700 square feet of new impervious or lack of asphalt. So I don't want to, I don't want you to think I didn't see that, but I don't know if this group just understands this is a really sensitive area for us. Marshes, we're not making any more of it. So we have to be sensitive to it when we can. So, okay, so if there's no other comments by commissioners or the applicant, we'll move to continue. What are we thinking here, a month?
I mean, it's up to the applicant. I know we did talk about this. There will be a June 16 hearing. I think it's unlikely you're going to turn around engineering and planning between now and then to close this. I recall that I did advise you, typically with projects of this scale, you open first with the commission and close last with the commission. So that being said, you can create a little bit of space to operate through the other permitting boards and move out to July 21 if you feel so inclined.
Megan, it's your call.
Sure. Yeah, could we continue to the June 16th just in case? And then if we still don't have any review, we'll continue to July 21st.
Sure.
Okay. Great.
And Joy,
Okay,
you want to move that?
yep. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282786 at 65 to 73 Essex Ave to the commission's meeting on June 16th, 2021.
Carpentier seconds?
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwall,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
Co-Chairman Gullo.
Yes.
Thank you.
So thank you all very much. Have a good night.
Commissioners.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, minor modification, notice of intent 28-2608, 677 Western Avenue, Tony Capichetti of Hayes Engineering representing.
Thank you. Tony Capichetti with Hayes Engineering, 603 Salem Street, Wakefield, Massachusetts, for the record. I was here 2 weeks ago for an extension, and I thought the modification was being heard at the same time. However, there's a little bit of a mix-up, so I'll go through the presentation again. Essentially, this was approved about 2.5 years ago. We had sought a 4-bedroom septic system. The septic system was located within the buffer zone. The house was about 17 feet, actually closer to 18 feet, 17.8 feet off of the nearest wetland flag. We received approval for this work. In dealing with the Board of Health, city engineer for drainage approval, both of which were received early this year. Some modifications were made, which I think from a wetland standpoint improved the project. The septic system was reduced to a 3-bedroom instead of a 4-bedroom and was moved wholly outside the buffer zone. So there are no septic components within the 100-foot buffer zone anymore. The house was then shifted as far as we could to the north to increase the separation to the wetland from 17.8 feet to 39.3 feet at wetland flag 9. The driveway was shifted to the west of the house. This allowed for a reduction in 500 square feet in impervious surface. And then the limit of work, erosion control, and all the agreed upon mitigation and plantings are to be the same as the original order of conditions. So it's a pretty minor change. The house is the same size, just further away from the wetlands, and the septic system is smaller and wholly outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
So, okay, we'll open up for public comment first, as we usually do. Anyone who wishes to speak for or against the project at 677 Western Avenue may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button or the hit *9 on your tablet or handheld device.
Okay, Amy Greaves, I'm going to, oh, you unmuted yourself. Good job. You are welcome to the floor.
All right, thank you. Amy Greaves, 12 Lawndale Circle. I am an abutter to this property off of Lawndale Circle. I'm also the president of the Magnolia Heights Homeowners Association that is part of the subdivision that is abutting this property, which that has frontage on Western Ave. It does not have frontage on Lawndale Circle. And we have not been notified of any changes to the plan. And we were under the impression that he had withdrawn his application in December. So my question is, how is this just getting plopped into the agenda without going through the formal process again?
Okay, thank you. We will respond in a group. So
Thank you.
Anyone else with their hand up?
Yes. Eric L., I'm going to allow you to talk and ask you to unmute. Go ahead, the floor is yours.
Can you hear me?
Keep speaking and we'll see how it goes.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes, that's better.
Okay, my name is Eric Liacono. I live at 14 Lawndale Circle. I'm in a butter to the common driveway there. So I guess one of my first questions was similar to Amy's, where he doesn't have access. This could be a question for Tony, I guess. Where he doesn't have access on Lawndale Circle, how is he gonna get to this property the way it's set up? The other piece that, that we've had in the past, we've been talking to him, is the runoff from the house and the driveway. And then the last piece would be like the flagged wetlands. Does anybody ever check those, or are we just relying on Hayes Engineering, them flagging it, and then where Tony's at the end of the day, the end user, does anybody ever check that? Because we're saying it's out of the buffer, but has anybody ever confirmed that? So I'm not saying he didn't do it right. I'm just that's my question to, I guess, to the board. That's all I have for now.
Anybody else?
Okay, I have no other members of the public to comment at this time.
Okay, hearing none, seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Okay, Mr. Capichetti, a couple of questions. Or actually, maybe, maybe this is better from you, Adrian, on, can you go over timelines on this project to the best of your abilities? So there was original order that came out that
Yes.
we approved.
I'm happy to help and provide a little bit of clarity here.
That'd be great.
I also had to walk through this a little bit to sort it out. So I'm going to actually just show you the interior of my drive so you can see it. So in 2018, in August of 2018, which was before I was working for the city of Gloucester, Hayes Engineering filed a notice of intent application for 677 Western Ave, which was assigned DEP number 0282608. And the commission heard this project. This was the permit plan as they were generally presented. It shows the home accessing through the future road access here, which is not uncommon for a commission permit plan because it's not the road access is not the jurisdiction of the commission. And you can see, of course, a robust planting plan. So this was probably massaged by the commission before an order of conditions was issued, and it was in 2018. The applicant then proceeded to take this project, to my understanding, to both the Zoning Board of Appeals and the Planning Board for relief to create a road access point here, and thus far has been unsuccessful. And as part of that process, came back to the Conservation Commission, and at that time submitted a new notice of intent request for the same project on the same parcel, except that there is a different roadway access. And that roadway access was from Western Avenue. So I will pull that one up too, so everyone can see what we're navigating. And that was in my time. And so that permit number here is called 0282649. And this project also, as you can see, went through an awful lot. We had all of the comments of the previous plans and the previous process included in this administrative record. And ultimately, the applicant decided to withdraw this application without prejudice. As you recall, it was going to involve crossing the wetland resource area that is between the upland area on the lot and Western Ave. See if I can open it. It's opening.
Did we error in not, can you have two orders and conditions open at the same time?
Yeah, I mean, you absolutely can. Many parcels. This was the other plan, if you all recall. It was going to involve a fill and roadway to Western Avenue. You absolutely can. Many parcels here in Gloucester have multiple open orders of conditions. It's not ideal. And after a certain number, and you do run into other issues in the interest of the act, but that typically is the scope of something called segmentation, and segmentation refers to mission creep in a project proposal. And that is not exactly what we're dealing with here. This is an entirely separate design review. So multiple orders of conditions that would run into segmentation would be, for example, when an applicant comes in and has an open order of conditions to do an addition to a single family home, and then comes back a year later and files a notice of intent application to install a two-family garage, and then comes back 2 years later and files another notice of intent to install an auxiliary dwelling unit or something like that. And you have this creeping lot coverage and impervious
development that you can't scope under a single order of conditions because of the way it has been filed. That's not what we're dealing with here. What we're dealing with here is the applicant's attempt to come up with a reasonable alternative as it was requested of them before the zoning board and planning board to access the lot otherwise through a location other than frontage. And that was this filing. Ultimately, of course, this filing was found to be totally unacceptable to the Conservation Commission, and the applicant withdrew that notice of intent without prejudice. So now we are back here to the project that is permitted, and the applicant continued to work with this permitted order of conditions to try to massage it in such a way that it would also achieve approval from the Board of Health. This required scaling down the size of the septic and of course the size of the footprint of the home itself. And ultimately, because they're smaller, they're moved closer to the Lawndale Circle side of the property, the upland side of the property, and out of the resource area, which is what allows him to come before the commission for a minor modification tonight as opposed to an amended order of conditions.
Yeah, so
Does
these,
everyone follow.
no, go ahead.
And that is all. That is the story. And so the commission here is not issuing an amended order of conditions. The commission is approving a plan update that has been presented before us as a result of a Board of Health decision.
I see. Okay. All right, we'll do commissioner roll call comments for commissioners.
Comments, Commissioner Charpentier.
Where's the access to this property now?
So if I may, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
So during the whole process, trying to get access over land that otherwise wasn't frontage, we talked to the seller who retained the fee and interest in that future roadway extension, and we were able to negotiate a deal to purchase the fee of that. There are rights of others for access and passage over that, which will stay the same. However, we'll own the underlying fee within that 40-foot future right of way.
Still not sure. Where is it on that map?
It'll access over Lawndale. There's an existing gravel driveway.
Yeah, right there.
And then we're going to use the existing.
Actually here.
Right there.
Yeah, we're going to access off that existing gravel drive with the smaller paved drive than what was originally approved.
There it is.
Okay. Commissioner Cook.
Yeah, I mean, from a conservation perspective, I think everything's good for us, at least in my opinion. It's further away from the resources. It's just a win-win for us. The access and how the neighbors handle it is a different issue, but that's not in our purview. So I don't have any questions.
Okay. Commissioner Gradwell.
One of the things that is in us is the access this way rather than coming in from Western Avenue, which would really be detrimental to the whole area. I think that they did a nice job in securing a piece of property here so that they could do this.
Okay.
Okay. Commissioner Sargent.
I'm wondering how long ago the wetlands were flagged and if that flagging is still valid. And I didn't see a mitigation or monitoring plan. And I'm wondering if that was part of a earlier submittal.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Co-chairwoman Jackson.
No further comments.
Okay. And co-chairman Gutla.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know how old the flagging is. I don't think it would make that big of a difference to reflag. But I do, Mr. Capichetti, I don't understand. How does your stormwater management plan work?
Stormwater management plan, we provided calculations to city engineer showing that there's no increase. There are rooftop infiltration that take care of the roof at the rear of the house. That's always been a condition. And then the rest, it's going to sheet off the driveway. We were concentrating the flow before. Now we're just going to let it sheet because we've moved further away from the well. And it's
So
a-
explain that to me again. So when it rains and it comes off the roof, where's it gonna go? Into the
there
ground?
are underground infiltrators proposed to the rear of the house. There's always been, and that's been a condition.
That was in the original order?
Correct.
Okay. And so you're gonna try and recharge?
Correct. So we're going to at least provide storage for the rooftop to the rear of the building. We're hoping it recharges. We didn't do test pits out there, but based on what we found for soils for the septic, and we did more test pits during the septic design, it's bony, but there's a lot of sand out there.
And I'm hoping you don't need any blasting?
No, there'll be some hammering to get the water line in, but that's outside the 100-foot buffer zone.
All right, so there'll be no blasting in our jurisdiction?
As far as I'm aware, no. And again,
Well, if there is
dug
any,
out
you
there-
need to report to the board, just report to the commission if you need to blast.
Yes. And the house is up. So that was one of the things, if you look, it's a walkout at grade to
Okay,
the rear of the house. So that is one of the things that we did take into account when we designed this.
understood. Okay. All right, that's all I had. So we have to make a motion on this modification. I don't know if you want to close the hearing. This is
Yeah.
There's no hearing.
no hearing.
It's
Okay.
consent. This is for consent. I just want to point out, I do see you, Eric and Amy, with your hands up. And at the discretion of the chair, if you want to hear their comments again, or if you want to accept that we have already given the public an opportunity to speak in a matter that doesn't normally host a public hearing.
Yeah, I feel for the neighbors, I do, but we can't keep opening, closing. It's such a bad precedent for future projects. So my apologies to anybody out there who wants to speak. We opened the public comment and we closed it, so we kind of have to leave it at that legally. I think. So with that, unless commissioners disagree, I don't know. If you want to hear them speak, it's up to you guys. Nobody else has a comment one way or the other. For a second, I thought my screen was frozen. Nobody even moved. So if you want to, if we want to open it up, we can't. I mean, if you think it's my discretion, Adrian, why don't we open it up and hear what they say?
Okay, so Eric, I'll let you go first this time. Go ahead. I'm going to ask you to unmute. See if you can do it. No? There you
Can
go,
you hear me?
Eric. Yeah, go ahead.
All right, so I guess, and I'm not trying to waste anybody's time, but that plan that you showed earlier, the one that said had them coming through Western Avenue,
Mhm.
I don't ever remember seeing that plan prior. So when we were tracking, trust me, we've been going to these meetings for a long time trying to figure this thing out. I don't ever remember seeing that plan coming over Western Avenue. Everything was coming through Lawndale because the applicant was tracking with the planning board at the same time, and they were trying to get through Lawndale Circle. So I guess I'm confused where that plan came from. That doesn't ring any bells as to the application that got withdrawn, I guess, last year in December.
Oh, that's the plan that was withdrawn. It was on the commission's agenda for more than a year.
So that plan came before us and it was basically a non-starter.
Yeah. So I guess my other question for you all is, if he doesn't, I know you guys don't have anything to do with access, but if he doesn't have access right now through Lawndale Circle, I mean, is there a condition that gets put on this that he has to get approvals from planning and zoning or not?
So that's part of the all of the standard language in the order of conditions. It does say, that it's the burden upon the applicant to acquire permitting from all other federal, state, and local boards, agencies, and offices. So, that includes building permits, inspectional services,
engineering approval, which we typically wait for, and something that's larger than a single family home. But in this case, stormwater does not apply. So we don't have the ability to do that. So that's already in place with the order of conditions that was previously approved and is still open and valid and extended under DEP file number 2608. So there's the commission does not have the ability to add new conditions. They're essentially just acknowledging an updated plan here that's attached to this file number. All the conditions that are associated with the project have already been recorded at the Registry of Deeds.
Okay, and just one last question, note, I guess. So we have a detention area when you pull into Lawndale Circle that is right on the left-hand side. And it's my understanding that the original developer ran everything from this detention area into the front side of this lot on Weston Avenue. And I think there's a structure on the site. I don't know if Mr. Capichetti can show it where he thinks it is, but I guess what is that going to do? Not control. I guess I hear him putting the chambers in, but the runoff from the driveway and the other stuff, causing that to damage our detention area. Not only that, you have all the houses along Weston Avenue that are, I think, down below this area, if I remember right. I guess just how is that getting handled? And I never see the chamber show up on any of the plans, so I'm just curious where it is and how it's going to be treated.
That is a question, a good historic question for the planning board.
Or engineering.
Yeah, the planning board would have recorded the stormwater engineering plan that is related to the subdivision in total, in sum.
Okay. That's it for me. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay, Amy, we'll let you go. I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead.
Hi, thanks again for your time. I really appreciate it. I think Eric just covered it. I think our really major concern is we're privately responsible as the homeowners association for the detention area. It is a major concern, the water runoff, both from the detention area to the easement on that property, and then also whatever plan, which, by the way, again, we have not officially seen or been notified about this new plan, which I know he will have to address with planning. But water runoff is definitely our number one concern, again, both from however he plans to run his utilities off of the future access road, which is also owned by the homeowners association and is part of our subdivision development, whether he owns the fee or not. And then also the detention area and the water runoff, which is already a huge problem. It's already underwater over there, so.
Understood. It's more, at this point, it's more of a legal issue than it is a conservation one, unfortunately.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we've heard from everyone. We've had public comment and then we've had more public comment. Adrian, thank you for all that. Commissioners, I guess we're going to move on the minor modification.
Sure. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the minor modification for NOI 0282608 at 677 Western Avenue.
Charpentier seconds.
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
Yes.
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
Yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
I'm going to abstain.
Okay.
Thank you all for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Okay, that's it. Or is it?
I think
That
it is.
is it. We do have Salt Island, an after the fact RDA coming. That came in with a box of cannolis. Friday last week.
That's funny.
And I actually did not see too many others. There will be a 10A float permit that I am excited for you to view. And I think that's all.
Okay.
And
What time
Adrian,
can I come and sign tomorrow, Adrian?
Oh, yes, some of you owe me, and Joe,
yes, I do.
Rob Gullah, and I
Yeah.
believe it's Barry Gradwell this time.
Ooh,
Hey, Adrian, is
He's
there
been
going
bad.
to be, is there going to be an upcoming day where I can sign what I owe you and also sign stuff from today?
I mean, there's almost, we approved almost nothing today, so if you come in after noontime tomorrow, I will have two. Two
After-
forms,
Until how long?
anytime after, from, let's say, 11 a.m. tomorrow.
Until what time?
2 weeks from now.
Okay, so I can, all right, but I can also go in on Friday, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah, I mean,
I don't-
ideally.
I don't think I can do it tomorrow.
Oh, okay, I see, I understand. Yeah, if I have enough signatures tomorrow, I will be issuing all permits, so.
Okay.
It's on you, Barry and Rob.
so what's my window tomorrow?
I mean, anytime tomorrow, I have all the permits drafted from the last meeting. It will take me a few hours to collate and drop in the mail. I like to try to at least start doing that by like 3 p.m.
Okay,
So that they are absolutely ready to go for the outgoing mail in the morning on Friday.
excellent. I will be there.
Thank you,
Gradwell will stop in early tomorrow.
thank you. And
Adrian,
just-
what's the latest on the continuation of the remote meetings?
So currently, we are continued remote until September 1 as Governor Baker reevaluates the potential for permanent remote meetings. That's
Okay,
all
so
I
we go to
know.
September. Okay,
So we are doing this for the duration until we have been asked to do otherwise. And so far in Gloucester, there's no direction to return back.
Okay,
So, make note the meeting agenda for June 16th is going to be heavy because we did have all of these carried forward. And I imagine we will also carry a whole bunch of them forward to July 21 too. So
okay.
it's a slow summer after a very hectic late winter and spring.
Yes, it is. All right,
All right,
move to
everyone.
adjourn.
Second,
Yeah,
And a roll call, Commissioner Charpentier,
yes.
Commissioner Cook,
yes.
Commissioner Gradwell,
Yes.
Commissioner Sargent,
Yes.
Co-Chairwoman Jackson,
yes.
and Co-Chairman Gullah.
Yes.
Thank you.
All right, everyone, be safe. We'll see you in 2
Okay,
weeks.
everyone.
Good
Thank
night.
you very much.
Night,
Have a
everyone.
wonderful night.
Everybody take
Good
care.
night. You too.